You'd think those in the nation's highest legislative body would want to be there so they could legislate. But little of that's been going on in the Senate these days.
Some here in Washington have talked about a do-nothing Congress, and that could certainly be said of the Senate. And the reason for that pretty much comes down to Harry Reid.
Washington political observers like John Hart say Senate Majority Leader Reid's near total clampdown on votes and amendments is historic.
He's blocked senators from offering amendments more often than all other majority leaders combined in our history, ×2.
So why would the man who controls legislation want to stop the legislating? Hart says one reason is politics.
He has used and abused that power to protect his own vulnerable incumbents from casting tough votes.
That way, say Hart and others, those vulnerable Democrats can't be held accountable on the campaign trail for votes they never had to deal with. Hart says there's hardly a crucial national issue Reid hasn't had the Senate dodge.
Issues like the Keystone Pipeline, tax reform, the size and scope of government, Obamacare, on issue after issue, his primary goal has been to protect his own party members, governing to win the next election above all else.
The Institute for Liberty's Andrew Langer says sometimes not holding votes can be a good thing because it can stop more government spending, for instance. But he points out that Reid is not only blocking votes, often on very important issues, he's allowing votes on questionable measures, like a recent one that critics say would have restricted the free speech of political interest groups.
So, Republicans have passed bill after bill after bill that have simply languished because Harry Reid refuses to bring them to the floor while he brings idiotic bills like the bill to go after free speech of groups.
The mainstream media would have you believe the Republicans ruling the U.S. House are just as bad at stifling legislation sponsored by the opposition Democrats. But Hart says the numbers in the Senate prove otherwise.
Since July of 2013, there have been 14 votes on Republican amendments and hundreds filed. And in the House, you have a Republican speaker who's allowed almost 200 votes on Democrat amendments.
Langer points out the Senate was set up to be the more deliberative body, and its own rules make passing legislation tough.
And the Senate has always been, depending on which side of the fence you sit on, the place where good bills go to die.
But Langer and Hart say Reid's unprecedented throttling of votes and amendments steals almost all the power away from the rest of the senators.
The fact is there are no red state Democrats. There are only Reid state Democrats. And he is, in effect, the third senator from every state because he truly does have the power to decide what amendments are offered.
And by blocking almost every senator on almost every issue, Hart says Reid takes away your right to representation.
This isn't just about the rights of senators or Republicans. This is about the rights and privileges of every single American citizen.
Paul Strand, CBN News, Washington.